I'm Chris Rawlings, the CEO of Judolaunch. We're a company that essentially helps brands launch their products in international markets. So we help Amazon brands get quick sales traction in any major Amazon market. And I am joined by Edward here from OFX, who helps not just Amazon brands, but different types of companies do all kinds of financial services and save money on currency conversion, amongst many other things. And Ed, I'm going to pass the baton to you, and let you expand upon that.
Yeah, perfect. It's pretty straightforward. My name's Ed Wiley. I run the e-commerce division at OFX down in Australia. So it's 2 a.m. In Sydney right now. So we're all keen to get on this phone call and connect with the rest of the world. Love to be on here. Based in Australia, obviously, I've got a bit of understanding around the Australian market with Amazon. So I thought I'd jump on and give you kind of some on-the-ground insights into what's happening down here, where we see the market going, and kind of what the market has been like for the last 2 years, and where we think it's, our sellers have reaching out to us with their questions and what we're seeing in the market, and when is the right time to really jump on. So, though we're not affiliated with Amazon, so I just have to do the legal stuff first. So obviously all the information today is like just general information, so it's not personal financial advice. So just do your own research as well. In addition, though my information may be topical and really helpful, it should give you a base to do your own personal research and expand on it, and then make a decision to jump on the bandwagon, or decide to reinvest back into the markets you're already in.
Totally, right on. Yeah, that's need to be said.
Yeah,
right on.
The old legal and marketing team, just they'll get on you. So,
and I mean, I would need that, because even in the conversation that we just had one-on-one a couple of weeks ago, that we were just mentioning, I was getting psyched up. So I could see other people getting psyched up, maybe too psyched up, and needing, to be brought down to earth a little bit. But on that note, why don't we just jump right in? So Amazon Australia, is there an opportunity there? If so, how big is it? You're there, you're based there, you live there, you're a real Aussie. We can all hear it in your voice. So being on the ground floor, you probably have a super unique perspective.
No, I'm from New Zealand originally. So that's a big call calling me.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
No,
It's okay.
like calling
cool. That's why you're so
a Canadian and a Yank. But no.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a good comparison. That's so right.
I live in Sydney, so I've been here for the last 5.5 years. So it's been really great. And I do travel around a lot with the e-commerce side of things. But Amazon here in Australia, obviously on the wider aspects, they have launched. They just launched FBA probably about a month ago. Before then, really haven't had any traction. So if you ask anyone around Australia, has Amazon's launched, everyone pretty much knows Amazon's launched, but no one's really been on there to make too many sales. There's not much traction. They haven't done one single pretty much advertising. So I think there's a lot of hesitation from even Australian sellers to jump on Amazon. I think everyone is taught probably in all the forums and all the education, probably sell into the US market first, build up, because that's the largest market. Once you've built up, your sizable company, then you can invest back in Australia. Just because when you've got limited amount of resources, you probably put it into the US market because you're just going to make a lot more sales. Saying that, it's not a mature market yet in Australia, and it's first in, first served. So if you look back at the US market, 10 years ago, if you got on then, when Amazon wasn't as big, you would have been getting the first reviews. So you look 10 years down the track, if you go long-term investment, whoever's there first obviously gets the benefit of having, the 500 reviews. And you go to any listing, just the basic goods. I think if you're going to get on Amazon Australia, I think you go really basic goods. I don't think you want to go really niche. You just want to go the general goods, and you just want to win that category or win that that main niche. Because if you can get a solid product and you're the number one ranking product from day one, doesn't matter who comes in later down the track, you're going to have the 500 reviews, and it's really hard to knock someone off the top when they've got all those reviews. So it's kind of a long-term game. So if you are looking for Amazon Australia, I would say it's more of a long-term play, and it wouldn't be putting all your eggs in one basket. So if you're a new company, I probably wouldn't, me personally, saying it's just general advice, it's not personal, but if I was just starting out, I wouldn't go all in on Amazon Australia just because it hasn't got that traction to take your business to the next level. If I was, a company 2 years in or a bit longer, I'd put it a bit aside just to get those listings up on those core areas, just to try and get some reviews and be in there from day one. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So you'd see it more as a long-term investment from a company that already has the resources to make that type of long-term commitment, and it probably would fit into their 1 year, 3-year plan versus their quarter one or month one plan. Is it basically what you're
totally.
saying?
So a product that you're looking, there's just not the volume of the buyers yet. That may change once Amazon does advertising, because once they turn on their little flick the switch on marketing and open their purse, I assume it's going to be like the Indian market, where you'll see whole streets of posters and you'll see buses with big advertisements down the side, or TV ads with learning about Amazon Prime and how to buy off Amazon and why you should buy off Amazon. They haven't had any of that yet in Australia, so it's been completely a ghost launch, and I've just been going off the back of Amazon's coming to Australia. They haven't said anything in the news. They've been really just behind the scenes, just trying to build the platform for you to sell on. And even that, it's very limited platform. So you can't do any advertising in Australia yet. So there's no pay per click compared to the US. So when you list your product, you pretty much have no way of, driving sales to it. But that's a great thing because it doesn't cost you anything. So you're in the same boat as everyone else. So again, it goes back to the same point. The first person to list obviously goes to the top of the page. And there's no other competition in terms of pay per click. And
one of the things that struck me that was getting me excited last time we talked was the fact that it seemed to me that when we were speaking about the consumer market, the e-commerce consumer market in Australia, that there really was no dominating player for e-commerce for electronic retail essentially down there, and that it would be relatively easy for Amazon that people were basically waiting for Amazon. This is kind of the impression that I was getting, that people want to have one place to go where they could buy anything, but that just doesn't really exist there now. Is that right?
Yeah, people aren't used to a big marketplace. eBay's been here for yonks. eBay's always been the number one in Australia. The problem with Australia, it's so far away from everywhere else, and the cities are so dispersed that the shipping in between. So once you even ship your products to Australia, you store them in a 3PL, and then you ship it domestically. You're looking at 3-4 times the price of shipping in the US. The good thing about Amazon at the moment is they're offering free FBA storage for 6 months.
Right. You
So
can go store your inventory using FBA for free right now.
yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's
That's
unheard.
another
That's
cool thing.
unheard
Yeah.
of. Unheard of.
I don't think they've ever done that before that I know of, at least.
Yeah, it's kind of they've just gone all in. They're like, hey, we've got some spare space. If you
Yeah.
want to try out FBA, because no one's ever thought of FBA in Australia. So,
Mhm.
and the 3PL services have just been on it. They've been trying to get all these, Amazon sellers who have entered at the start to try and use their 3PLs.
Yeah.
So Amazon's like, hey, we're just going to go offer free for the first 6 months. And I assume just close to the ending of that 6 month period, they're going to turn on Prime and then they're going to pump advertising. But that's my guess.
Yeah.
Who knows what Amazon's going to do?
They
But
are dead set on taking over the world. I mean, that's very clear. Really, they're like so focused on international expansion that it's like Uber versus Lyft. Lyft doesn't care. Lyft just
yeah,
wants to do the US. Uber is dead set on global domination. And I think that's Amazon is like that. So yeah, I would definitely trust them. And another point that I did want to bring up, just as an alternative, just to play the devil's advocate, also, being that my own brand that I've been running for a couple of years now, over 3 years, I actually had a different strategy than the one that you mentioned, where you go after the biggest market first. And that might be because we were in a pretty competitive market.
mm,
Our products were very competitive, and I was, at least at first, and still for some of the products now, couldn't afford to tackle the biggest market first. Couldn't afford the massive amounts of giveaways and the massive, investment in pay per click and brand identity and volume, and cutting the prices in the intensely competitive market of the US. And instead, I would start launches of new products in Germany, which
yeah,
was the second and still is the second biggest Amazon market, get traction there, and also be able to completely own my niche there versus being, one of many and maybe down at the bottom of search results. I was like number one in Germany. And that worked for the budget that I was able to launch on. And this was a volumetric product too. Like we shipped 40-foot containers because it's high volume, low density. And then I would go to the more competitive markets and use the funding from the smaller markets to subsidize my launch in the larger markets. And maybe Amazon Australia, it sounds like maybe is not even at that level yet. Maybe I don't know. Maybe for soup,
like
because
I
for
reckon
us it's
about six
like,
months
yeah,
away, it should be like
okay,
that.
yeah,
It just doesn't have that buyer, the volume coming in. So
right, right,
even the
yeah,
search function on Amazon Australia is a bit, it's not Amazon-y. Like you go to
oh,
Amazon to feel like when you put it in a search, you get straight away, and
everything
then
you want,
it recommends other things that you didn't think about, and that's
yeah,
that's a core Amazon. So right
hmm,
now it just doesn't have the proper listings up there.
yeah,
So it's really desperate to get all those listings in. And
mm,
once they've got that, then they'll turn on the marketing budget to try and get the buyers. And I think that the one missing piece is probably the Prime. So they don't have the Prime yet in Australia, but once they do,
oh,
um, yeah, you got to be in there. It's going to take you a few months, obviously, to get the products into Australia. So you got to be in there at the
right,
start. Um,
yeah,
One huge difference to the Australian market compared to the rest of the world is Australians are used to receiving via drop shipping. So eBay, over the last, say, 5 years, has really hurt themselves because they've moved everything across to drop shipping. Not because it's what they wanted. It's just because the Chinese market have just seen Australia as just a little golden nugget,
mm,
because they get the e
so
parcels.
close,
Yeah,
hmm,
they get the e-parcels, and the Australian market doesn't have any kind of competition for like 2 day or 3 day shipping. So people are just going to eBay and then buy any electronics they want for really cheap, or any like um, consumer good or kitchen stuff. Like anything under $10, you expect just to be arrive in 30 days. And the
hmm,
Australian market's got to that point where you go onto eBay, you just don't know when it's going to arrive. So it's just
Wow.
people
Okay.
don't want to go onto eBay for um, like stuff that's going to arrive tomorrow.
Hmm.
So I know eBay are investing that, and now they're trying to change their whole models to have a guaranteed delivery date. But they've like the whole market in Australia is like, oh, you buy off eBay, oh yeah, you just there's no trust. So it could come
Wow.
broken in the mail.
Hmm.
Um, but there's one marketplace that's been like taking off in Australia, and all the forums and everything catch. So catch.com.au. It's also a marketplace. They only opened up about 6 months ago to third-party sellers, and they're just going gangbuster. So they've just
Whoa.
skyrocketed. They've been doing the advertising. They kind of jumped on the ship of Amazon launching, and they just said, "Hey, we're here first." Um, they did all the marketing first before Amazon launched. So everyone's, they're getting a lot more volume than Amazon. So I'm hearing, three
Oh.
times the amount of sales than
Hmm.
Amazon. Um, but they
Are
did
they
come out.
venture backed? Is this like it
Yeah,
reminds me of Jet in the
so
US.
it's a private firm. So they've been around for a long time. So they used to be
Oh, okay.
catch up. So they've been around for a long time, but they always used to be just their own marketplace. They didn't have any third party sellers. And then 6 months ago, they just opened it up, and then everyone just jumped on the bandwagon.
So
Um,
they're trying to beat Amazon to the punch, sounds
yeah,
like.
well, they have until Amazon turns on their marketing budget and don't do their Prime thing.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because currently Amazon hasn't really even gone out and done any speeches on even the news. They haven't even been talking, so they're just trying to build up their own internal
Yeah.
stuff. And then once they turn it on, you're going to be the winner. But Australian market, yeah, there's like Catch, which is the number one like go-to marketplace or the new one. eBay's obviously the largest. Obviously, a lot of people are just used to buying off eBay. And then there's Kogan, which is an electronics place. So that's publicly listed, and they've just been going. So that is all electronics, like everything from a TV to getting your internet router. I brought my internet router off them 2 weeks ago. Um,
Wow. Okay. So
you,
e-commerce in general is on uptrend in Australia.
oh yeah, so
People want to buy stuff online, and it sounds like they want more trust because of their experience with the eBay dropshipping thing too.
yeah, and I
So,
think Kogan on the electronic side of things, they really won that trust because they could do the delivery within 3 days. And it's
mm,
not amazing time frames, but Australia just wasn't used to, oh my god, guaranteed delivery for electronics at a cheap price. So obviously they went out and branded their own brands and then became a wholesaler for all these Chinese brands. Um, and people were just going to them because they can trust Kogan because they know that it's going to arrive on time and it's got some reputation around return of goods. So Amazon, I think, is in such a good position to um, expand in the Australian marketplace purely for
based on
that
the
reason.
demand. Yeah.
There's huge demand on it. Like last year alone, Australians spent $1 billion on Amazon in the US and UK market. So people are already shopping on Amazon, but they're not shopping on Amazon.com. They're shopping on Amazon the US, Amazon the UK. So yeah,
Wait, what was the number that you quoted?
$1 billion
Was spent where?
on by Australians on Amazon's international websites.
Oh, fuck. Just like importing.
Yeah, so like there's whole
Okay.
companies set
Oh,
up in the
dude. Yeah.
US offering kind of a postal service. So you get it
Hmm.
from Amazon and you buy off Amazon the US, and
Hmm.
then they ship to a local, post box in the US, and they consolidate all your shipping, and then you
Hmm.
get it shipped over to Australia to save on the shipping side. So there was
Wow.
whole
So,
businesses set up around that.
yeah, that happens here in China too. Chinese, because I'm in Shanghai right now, like I was telling you before. Um, the Chinese population tends to view purchases overseas on e-commerce overseas as like premium. So
Hmm.
there's Taobao here, and that's where you can go to buy regular stuff. And then they'll go on Amazon and buy stuff that's, it comes from overseas, although likely many of them manufactured in China, they go overseas and come right back. But to get like the good stuff, you
Yeah,
know.
it's got a Western brand on it. It's good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah. It's so funny. Like when I was getting the down low when I first moved here like a month ago, that's what people were telling me. Like that's if you need something, high quality, that's what you do. So yeah, that's interesting. I
Yeah, well,
do
like
think it sounds like I feel like if I was to summarize like this conversation to this point, it's from a seller's perspective, I'm thinking to myself, if I was to launch in the US right now, I would be looking for not a main category but a sub or maybe even
yeah,
sub
you go
category that's
niche
a
and a
niche.
niche.
Yeah, I would niche in, find some kind of niche of a category that has a lot of demand but one that has an opportunity, like a low quality supply, but still a solid demand. Whereas I feel like if I went to Australia, I would
You just
want
go straight
the
for the
main
main one.
thing, the top, yeah, like some high volume thing in other markets where there's definitely a demand. There's people there who will buy it and own that straight up right away, and keep like be first mover and keep that first mover advantage.
Yeah,
But it does sound like it's a risk.
it, well, there's like, so what I've been doing. So I've been going off AliExpress, which is obviously
Uh huh.
Alibaba's, sub child just for direct. So
Single
AliExpress is pretty
purchase.
much just
Right.
drop shipping.
Hmm.
So what I've done is I've been drop shipping onto Amazon Australia, and then I've also drop shipped to my home address. So I ordered, say, 10 units, and it's in my house in Australia. So my girlfriend's really happy that it's in the garage. Uh, and then I've also offered free shipping directly from AliExpress. So I've just matched pretty much the prices or slightly higher on AliExpress. Um, just so I can,
Oh,
without having to brand and go out and buy lots of inventory. I've
but
just
you
been
test the
going,
market.
yeah, I'm just been testing the market.
Oh,
Just going straight off Alibaba.
that's
I
a
mean
cool
AliExpress,
strategy. Oh,
because
so you'll make a listing. Okay, so you'll get one unit, then you'll get the product photography taken, make the listing, and then you'll carry no inventory and not have Prime. Well, Prime doesn't even exist there yet. Okay, so
yeah,
you'll have no
yeah, you don't have
inventory,
Prime. There's no benefits. So
and everybody that makes a purchase, does that automatically get routed to AliExpress, or do you have to then make the order manually each time a purchase happens, or how does
So
that work?
I just do it manually at the moment. There's not enough volume. Like as I said, like
Right.
I'm just going the main
Okay.
categories. Once I get, say, some volume, I'll just be like, oh shit,
Mhm.
I should go out and find a
Get the
manufacturer
inventory.
to, yeah, I'll order 500 units, and I'll go straight to the manufacturer, and then I'll ship it in. Um,
Interesting.
so that's allowed me to diversify and go after a few different niches and a few different products. Well, I
Hmm.
know in the US, so I just Googled in the US, I said, what products have got like 1,000 reviews plus? What are the main like
Yeah.
funnel products that are easily done? I don't even have to photo them, because on AliExpress the photo is actually really nice. So you can just, it's the same product. I just take different photos from different listings, and I just say, okay, well these are the best photos, and then I just put them into Canva, which is the free, marketing thing. So then I
Yeah,
just
I
put
love
like
Canva.
a few extra text on them, make it look a bit professional. Um, yeah, and that's what I've been doing just to test the waters. It's been working quite well. And some products that I thought were going to be like taking off, just haven't yet. So I'm still testing. There's no real. I've only spent, I think, $1,000 on inventory that I have in my house, and yeah, it's just been shipping in.
I love that I have you to be my feet on the ground there. So I can keep asking you, pinging you every couple of weeks or every month or so. I'd be like, Ed, hey, how's the market? Because you're actually testing this physically yourself. And that's a really good way to test too. I really love that strategy. It's very cool.
But what we've
Are
found is like no one's used to giving reviews. So it's there's no like incentivized review structure. There's no
mm,
yeah, no one's like encouraged to review, and there's no sorry. There's no existing reviews up there. So when you're listing, you might only have one of the listings has one review. And when you got one review, you look a lot better than everyone else. So,
oh my
um,
God. Wow. Okay.
so
Versus
not
the
telling,
thousands that we're dealing with in the US.
yeah. So not telling anyone to get some Australian friends and who can give you
Yeah,
a
yeah,
nice review, because I don't think there'll be any manipulation issues in Australia, just because there's only
yeah,
like one or two
yeah.
reviews up there. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. So
okay.
but yeah, like that's the Australian market. It's not used to the prime structure, and I think it's ripe to switch to the prime structure. And when it actually they turn it on, I think you'll see kind of a big shift in people who are originally eBay sellers switch over to Amazon. And there's obviously a lot of people buy off websites, so like Shopify is huge in Australia. There's a lot of like fashion brands and that sell direct. So Australians are used to buying direct for products off like unique
Hmm.
websites. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
That's interesting. And what kind of fulfillment do they use? Just third party fulfillment?
yeah, they just
Is there
use
a big
it.
one or?
Some of them still do drop shipping out of China.
Oh, Jesus. Wow. Really?
Uh,
What is the
yeah.
deal? Oh,
So
Jesus.
some of them still do drop shipping out of China, but majority of them would be really nicely done photos, and then they'll just do delivery via the say 3 day shipping via
Okay.
3PL in Australia.
Okay.
Um,
Very interesting.
but if
Yeah.
you ask, yeah, if you ask any girl, there's like 1,000. Oh, probably there's one payment gateway in Australia like called Afterpay that allows you to um, pay for goods over the next 2 months. So you pay a quarter up front, and then the next one every 2 weeks, the next quarter. So I think they listed the other day they got 14,000 merchants in Australia. So that's 14,000 different, boutique websites in
Wow.
Australia alone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so just thinking about that, so there's just different people for different like dress. You want to go here, if you want to go there. So there's 14,000 of them.
Jesus. Yeah. That is very fractured. That's that's wild. Are there certain categories that you think are different in Australia or are a bigger opportunity or maybe stay away from those in Australia?
Um, I'll probably stay away from a lot of the winter stuff, just because like it's naturally warm over here. So
Uh-huh.
ours obviously that's one of the major benefits of living in Australia. You get the summer probably for I'd say 9 months of the year. Um, like right now, it's meant to be autumn, but yesterday I think it was like 25 degrees. So um, yeah, so it's nice blue sky and went for. I didn't get to go for a swim because I was working too late, but I try to go for a swim after work, or before work. So um,
Solid.
yeah,
Yeah, solid.
but yeah, like if I was going to Australia, I'd look for those kind of the stuff that you would typically um, buy online. I wouldn't buy a really boutique. Or I wouldn't list a really boutique item because Australia is quite a bit different to the US market where our shopping centres are kind of built into transit points, and they're a lot more. So people go to the shopping malls still in Australia. So all those kind of household goods and those things, they want to touch it and feel it. So
Mm.
if you're going to go boutique, I'd probably stay off online in Australia. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying you'll have to educate the market a bit more. And Australia, I think, will buy a lot more kind of um, like you can get like general household items, like a garlic press. They're willing to buy that online, but if you're thinking something like to place on the wall, they'll probably want to see it in person, just because. yeah, if you go to any train station, there's usually like a mall connected to it, like a major train station. That's where they have the malls.
Oh, it reminds me
Um,
of China, actually.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
just it's convenient and it's well done, and all the big shopping centers are it got connectivity in terms of transport, which is a lot different from the US where the shopping centers you have to get on like a bus or you have to drive 20 minutes to
Oh
go
yeah.
see it. So that's why shopping centers in the US are really just
Oh yeah. Definitely. I would
but
not want to be physical retail in this, actually anywhere really.
But I was just amazed when I was in the US last, like because I went over to University of Texas and I studied there for a year and a half. And when I arrived, I like went into the city. I was like, "Oh, I'll go buy some stuff," and there was no shops in the whole city. And I was just like, "Where is the shopping mall in the city, or where's like the phone store where I can even get a new SIM card, a new phone?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you have to go out to the mall." And I was like, "Where's the mall?" And she was like,
You
"Oh,
got to drive.
it's like a 25-minute drive that way." And I'm like, "What? I'm in the city. Like, surely there's like a mall in the city." So Australians are just used to it, and so I'm from New Zealand. I'm used to that as well. That you buy everything in the city or like at a big connection point.
Yeah.
Um,
Although New Zealand has a pretty cool local version of eBay. I can't remember what it's called.
yeah, trade me.
Trade Me.
Uh,
Yeah, that's where I bought my motorcycle down there. And then I motorcycled around New Zealand for like 4 months and then sold it on Trade Me again for the exact same price I bought it for. So I had like a free motorcycle for 4 months in New Zealand. And it was a dope motorcycle too. It was a Suzuki Gladius. And that thing took me all over New Zealand. It was awesome.
yeah, like if you are going to go into Australia, you'll be silly not to sell on to New Zealand, which is like a 3-hour flight away. But it seems like it's because Australia is so far away from everywhere else, 3-hour
Yeah.
flight to New Zealand seems like it's just a ride down the road on your
Across the
bike.
street. Yeah. Just across the pond.
Yeah, so but if you're selling into New Zealand, Trade Me is the only marketplace pretty much. There's like eBay tried to get in there a long time ago, failed. Some people do buy off eBay from New Zealand, but very small amount. Trade Me's got probably about 90% of the market wrapped up.
And so, but New Zealand has, I think, what, 4 million people
Yeah,
between
it's just a small market.
Yeah, that's
It's
super. So that's a
yeah,
little too small. Australia is what's the population of Australia again?
like 26 million or
26. Okay, yeah. So
yeah,
that's
but very online. So
right.
Australian marketplace, like everyone's got a mobile phone. It's obviously like a Samsung or a Apple, so everyone's connected, willing, like open to pay for stuff online. They even
Mhm.
open to pay for stuff that's going to arrive in 30 or 50 days from China. So
Yeah, seriously. That's what makes me think that there's some kind of opportunity there. Um, Also, you mentioned during our last call an interesting thing about the hemisphere difference,
yeah,
being that products like the seasons are reversed, which could help seasonal brands to kind of take better advantage of their inventory and so on.
yeah, because obviously Amazon Australia is the only market in the southern hemisphere. So pretty
Oh,
much if you think of anything, is
yeah.
everything else is in the northern hemisphere. So it's all in the same season. So you can't really shift your stock between them. But if you've gone long one stock in like say the summer in the US and then your sales are drying up, obviously I hear this all the time where people are like, oh man, I'm really good for seasonal during this like the 3 months during summer, and then it's just dead. So if I had like excess inventory or I had those Chinese relationships with my supplier, I
Exactly.
would just go send it straight down to Amazon Australia.
Yeah,
Um,
dude, that's super awesome. If I was, I mean, I don't sell seasonal products, but if I did, I'd be like, oh, duh, yeah, that's so good for your underutilized inventory. Because if you're selling pool floaties, as soon as the summer's over, you're either gonna let that sit in a warehouse for the entire year, just taking up space and costing you money, or you're gonna destroy it basically, just to keep it from costing you money. So,
yeah,
yeah,
the inflatable toys. I think that's one thing in Australia that could be a huge winner. I've gone in myself with AliExpress, so I've bought some pool toys and listed it up there, and I've got a few sales. So just because Australia's summer is so long, obviously your buying time for those pool toys, like people usually, they have them until, like, even when I went back for Christmas in New Zealand, my mum had 3 swans in the pool and 2 lilos. So she brought that all for Christmas. So people were just willing to buy.
Wow. Okay.
She's like, I've got the family back. I need all these toys. But I live in Manly in Sydney, and you go down to the waterfront, the harbour side, and every single weekend you see blow up toys in the sea. And then, like, later on, and I think it's in February in Manly, they have the blow up boat race. So it's just, you'll see 500 blow up toys, and everyone's racing from one point of the beach to the other. So it's a festival of blow up toys. But there's not many. They're quite expensive in Australia, so people aren't used to the discounted prices of buying off Amazon. They're used to paying full retail at stores.
Yeah, that's kind of funny because you would definitely never see in the States a bunch of blow up toys in the ocean. That's like a pool thing.
Oh no, you always had the ocean here.
Wow, that's so funny. Yeah, you like in the States you'll see surfboards, boogie boards, but you wouldn't see blow up toys.
Oh, not on the surf side. So there's two, like Manly's, like, is one side of the beach is all surf, so you wouldn't really see on that side, but the other side is the harbour, so it's completely flat. And then obviously Australians love their beer, so they love those blow up toys that have like the beer holder and a bit of shade.
Yeah, totally.
So like the ones that can fit like 8 people, and you see those, and they're just anchored, just 10 meters off the beach.
Yeah. We do the same thing in New Jersey on the ocean. So like what probably, if not my favorite thing, one of my favorite things to do when I'm back home in New Jersey, where I'm from, is to grab a bunch of basically pool floats, inflatables, and a bunch of friends, and throw all of that in a couple of cars and drive to the Delaware River, which is just like 20 minutes from where I'm from. And we would all just drop a car down like 4 hours down the river or 6 hours down the river, shove everyone in the other cars, and then drive up, inflate our own weird ass shit. Like someone will have like you said, the big like 8-seater with the drink holders. Someone else will just be jankily on like a little turtle. Like someone else will have like a big tire from a tractor, and everybody just brings their own floaty things, and you tie everyone together with rope and just float down the Delaware, getting drunk and sunburned, and it's the best.
Yeah, it's I can't say for myself that I haven't had a few beers on on a lilo.
Yep. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, man. So we're supposed to have a couple of reserve some minutes for questions. We actually did start getting a couple in here. So we've got about 5 to 10 minutes left. If you want to deliver before we start question answers, if you want to deliver anything else, or there's something specific, that you wanted to say to viewers here.
Like probably the Australian market. It's you got to be in there to win, and you got to be in there first. It's like you think about the UK market or the Germany market. 5 years ago, no one would have really thought to enter it. They were kind of like, oh yeah, you sell on it if you're just from there. Maybe sell on it, but I'm not going to make any profit. So what's the point? So it's kind of in that position. So I wouldn't go all in. I would just test the waters, test it with some products that are going to be winners. Don't try and think about it too much. Just jump on Amazon in the US, because we're kind of a feeder population where US companies, they go into the Australian market to test their products in Australia before they go big in the US. Because
We do. But,
the demographics are exactly the same. So we're all English speaking. We're all obviously Anglo-Saxon. Well, not all, but the majority of people are purchasing power. So just go onto Amazon.com and just go find the products that you know are selling well over there, and try and replicate it here in Australia. So those blow up pool toys, that would be a winner. Probably after this webinar, it will be a bit of a flooded market, but
yeah.
yeah, there's lots of other stuff. People like the outdoors in Australia. You got to think about that, and what they do. People like going fishing. There's 101 boats, for every person in Australia. I feel like people just own too many boats in Australia, and they like the outdoors. And remember, there's not a long winter, so probably don't sell snow shovels.
Right.
There's only like one place where it's a mountain, so it's all mainly beaches and outdoor life. So I think the home category, maybe the gardening, people love their lawns, and maybe like sell some hoses or just some fitting equipment. Just stuff that you would generally buy online. Don't try and make it up and think yourself. Go straight on Amazon.com and just search up the most brought items, and the typically brought items.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah, no, I think actually versus our last conversation, I think I've kind of changed my perspective from this conversation. It sounds to me like you're basically saying for most merchants that this is kind of like for now, it's like a wait and watch, that you wouldn't jump into this market right now, that it may be best to like keep an eye on it, and once it does start to take, like, be first mover to get in there. Am I interpreting that right?
Yeah, definitely. But
Okay.
I would just like check it out. Go look at this. Don't try and just think about it yourself. Go look at the Australian Amazon.com.au website.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. Yeah.
and have some, like, you'll be gobsmacked if you're used to looking at Australia. Amazon.
Gobsmacked?
Yeah, like your jaw would just be
gobsmacked. I love that saying. I'm definitely going to steal that and use it and not give you credit for it. Tell everyone I made it up.
But man, like you'll go on there, you'll be like, wow, this is like one of the top categories in the US, but there's like 5 listings. There'll probably be like 30 listings, but like there's only 5 of them with 1-star reviews. Like, and like half of them, you're like, oh, they've only got 1 image, because Australian wholesalers are just used to uploading 3,000 images or 3,000 products or SKUs at once, and they won't optimize. So all the ones on there at the moment are listed by big brands. So all, like, Amazon
suck.
Amazon went out to all the big brands and all the big wholesalers and said, "Hey, list all your items, And then
they just did a flat file upload of thousands and thousands of SKUs.
Yeah. So they uploaded all their SKUs, and then they saw no sales, and they're like, "Oh well, we'll just leave it."
Oh wow!
There's no incentive for them to update it or like go in. So if you have got excess product, I know, because I sell in the outdoor camping equipment in the US. On my next order, I'm just going to send probably. I'm just thinking about. I'm weighing up if I send 50 or 100 units. I'm just going to send it via air freight as a split off from my main order. So also got to remember that if you're doing any electronics in Australia, definitely research that, because we have different electronic plugs than the rest of the world.
And good call.
Different voltage. And I think there's a slightly different around the import side of things in Australia. But every single manufacturer I've dealt with sells to Australia, so they already have existing clients in Australia, buying off Alibaba. So everyone that I've dealt with is like, "Oh, you want it shipped to Australia? Do you want it made to Australian conditions?" And I was like, "Oh no, actually, I'm from Australia, but I'm shipping it into the US." And they're like, "Oh, okay."
But then you lied, because you're actually from New Zealand.
Yeah,
so
I got to make life easy. They won't know where New Zealand is.
Yeah. Okay, right on, dude. Well, that kind of leads into one of these questions. We got three questions here so far. By the way, we have about 10 minutes left, guys. Everyone watching. So if you have a question, throw it in there now, and we'll take care of it. We'll go over that. So the first one that we got from Nick, hey Nick, is how hard is it to get approval to sell supplements and edibles in Australia? And by edibles, I'm assuming he means weed, right? I'm thinking, Nick, that's what you
Um,
mean, edibles.
well, like marijuana, that's
I
illegal
think
in
so.
Australia.
Okay. Okay. So no, well, maybe by edibles, he just means anything that can be
I
eaten.
think like food.
Yeah. Okay. That
Like
what where I'm from, edibles means edible weed. So, all right. Sorry,
that was a
but
big jump to conclusion right there.
well, that's literally the name for it. All right. Whatever. Screw you guys. He says cookies. Okay. So he's talking
Cookies.
cookies and also specifically supplements.
Supplements is a big one in Australia. Because like a lot of firms like ours, we treat supplements as high risk. Because in the finance industry, if you don't have FDA approval, you're not allowed to usually sell like those supplements.
Hmm.
So I think as long as you got FDA approval, I think that's kind of like the golden stamp. I'm not an expert in this area, so don't take my obviously like what I'm saying is
Okay.
gospel. But I know Australian does have its Australian food standards, and you have to display obviously the quantity, and it has to display the origins of where it was manufactured. So just jump on Google, have a little search around. I don't think Amazon will be too kind of like conscious around locking people out, but I think they'll just want you to meet. I think your biggest concern would be quarantine in Australia, like the importing when you're importing into
Hmm.
Australia, having to meet those standards, and that's making sure it's not in ounces. Australia used the metric system, so it's in millimeters and liters. Obviously, forgot to say that, but yeah, Australia's like for any listing in Australia, use centimeters, meters, ounce. Don't use ounces. Use like liters, milliliters. So it's just the metric system. Um, yeah, so you just gotta
Awesome.
think about that.
Okay, cool. We got another question. Can you do merchant fulfilled? And actually, hello, also wanted to know about requirements to sell supplements in Australia. So sort of covered that. So
Everyone wants to
yeah,
get juiced up.
yeah, sounds like it. Yeah.
People do love the gym over here, so I wouldn't see. I would see supplements as a good area to hit.
Mm,
Um, as I know, like everyone loves to. Even me, I don't shop in the store for protein powder. I just jump online and try and find protein powder. I don't do the supplements in terms of like the pills or anything, but I buy protein powder online, and I think that's one of the areas that I would buy off Amazon if someone was able to do it. Um, some decent quality protein powder. So the gym area, I think there's a lot of like fitness and outdoorsy stuff in Australia. I think the whole gymming side of things could be a nice little niche to go into.
awesome.
Um,
And for the merchant fulfilled, you can do
yeah,
merchant fulfilled.
merchant fulfill. I do merchant fulfill myself.
Gotcha.
So
Cool.
what I said before was where I get the AliExpress stuff delivered to me personally in my address, so I can fulfill it and guarantee 3 day shipment. So with like shipment arrival within 3 days, and they pay, and I price that as separate pricing from the free shipment. So I offer free shipping because people in Australia, I don't know why, but they love free shipping. They don't care how long it takes. That's why they're willing to take 30 days. So I offer direct shipping from AliExpress, and that will be 30-day delivery, free shipping, because it doesn't cost me anything.
Awesome.
And then I'll offer, say, I'll charge an extra $8 for 2 day or 3 day shipping.
Yeah, I
So that's
love
for
that. I love that strategy of testing the market. That's awesome. Kevin wants to know, are there any special requirements if you're an overseas seller and you'd like to sell in Australia?
No, we've been helping a lot of overseas sellers. So, like, what I haven't even said what we do. So at OFX, we issue international bank accounts. So if you're an international seller, say from the US or from China or Europe, we'll issue you an Australian dollar bank account. Um, so then you can list that up to Amazon as well as eBay. So you can list it up to PayPal. And then receive your Amazon revenues into that Australian dollar account. So there should be no issue for international sellers selling on to Amazon Australia. And I just heard from Amazon earlier this week. I saw an email from Amazon as well as a post on the news in Australia that they're opening up to sellers from India. So I already thought they were part of it, but it looks like India was like a special case scenario where they probably had additional taxation issues or something to do with how they're reporting. So I've seen a lot of Chinese sellers who are selling on eBay and now looking to sell on Amazon Australia, but all of them are drop shipping. Or I shouldn't say all, but from all that I know, majority of them are drop shipping. So they're trying to replicate what Amazon or eBay is doing on Amazon Australia. And I think that's going to work to a point where Prime comes in, and then once Prime like pushes through, and then you get the like Prime eligible for FBA or agreed 3PL services. I think that's when Amazon's going to go like skyrocket up because people's perception of when it's going to arrive and their understanding of, hey, I'm going to get these products right away and I don't have to pay extra for shipping.
Yeah. So but is that local bank account requirement, or that's just so that you don't pay Amazon's ridiculous currency conversion fees?
Yeah. No, it's not a requirement. So you can get paid in your home currency. I think they pay in majority of the currencies. But if you don't want to, get charged 4% in the exchange rate when converting from AD to say USD or your home currency. So OFX, I think we have a discount for Judolaunch. If you mention Judolaunch when you register, is 0.85% and no fees. So yeah, you save over 3%. So that's $3,000 on 100 grand's worth of revenue. And that's for other major currencies as well. So we issue US dollar bank accounts, Canadian dollars, euro and pound, as well as Australian dollars and Hong Kong dollars. Yeah.
Awesome. Wait, can you say that again? Like, so this is not just Australia. This is even if a seller wants to save on their currency conversion from Europe or those other markets that you just mentioned. If they mention judo, they will get.
Yeah. So Amazon charge 4%, but I think our discount for judo. Oh, look, I know our discount for judo Judolaunch is 0.85%. That's the starting rate. So if you're doing over $25,000 a month, then it decreases down from that. So you can get down to, I think our low mark is if you're doing over $100,000 a month, it's like 0.5%. So there's no other fees, and you can do same currency transfers as well. So if you are, say, earning in US dollars, but then have your suppliers in US dollars, you can use those US dollars to then pay your suppliers. So you don't have to kind of convert it back to your home currency and then convert it back to US dollars. So
Excellent.
Quite helpful.
Super helpful. That's dope. I'm glad that you said that now because we could spend a little bit more time on questions because actually they're now flooding in. So Tim saying, we are in the non-resident ABN and GST registration application stage right now. How long should the brief statement that describes business activities be? I'm not actually sure what that's referring to.
So an ABN is an Australian business number.
So
it's like if you want to pay. Yeah, so it's like paying tax in Australia. I believe you just need it for GST if you earn over $75,000 a year. That's when you start paying GST, and GST is equivalent of VAT overseas. Or like state tax. So on all orders in Australia, you're meant to pay 10% GST. So it's not as high as the UK and Europe, so it's just 10%. and you don't have to pay GST if off the top of my head, I think it's $75,000 for the first $75,000. You don't have to pay GST, but once you get over that threshold, then you
Per
start
year or
having to
total?
pay
Cumulative
per year,
sales.
per year.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah,
I
that's cool.
believe that's for people with an ABN.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Tim wants to know, how long should that brief statement that describes business activities be? I don't know what that must be part of
I
something
pretty
you have
much
to
I
fill
would
out.
not know myself. I
Yeah. Okay.
assume a brief statement is like a paragraph or
Probably
two. Like
be pretty brief. Yeah.
yeah, you don't. I don't think they're looking for an essay.
Not a novel.
I assume it's like I am a retailer of camping goods. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
much it. Like even like with us, when we ask, oh, what does your company do, or what are you doing? Like when we write it down, we just say, okay, he's selling on Amazon in this category. We don't actually go into specifics of like he's selling camping tents, or it's just he's selling in this category, and that's pretty much what your business is. They might
Excellent.
need your website, but that's about it.
Cool. Okay. And hello. I think so. I believe this person is referring to when you were mentioning the differences in units. So you were talking about volumes and liters. So hello, saying, does that mean you have to change the label?
Yes. I believe, like under the consumer requirements, you would have to have it in milliliters and
Hmm.
instead of ounces.
Hmm.
But I know a lot of food products and stuff would have both metrics, just to make it easier for themselves so they can sell internationally. So if you are looking to sell outside of the US, you may want to, on your packaging, have it in. So here's the ounces, and then a second category next to it, and here's the equivalent in the metric system, because the UK and Europe will be exactly the same.
Hmm.
Well, Canada's on the metric system. They're European. I mean, used to be.
I think the US is the only. I think we're
Yeah,
the only stupid ones that do
I think,
the weird
yeah.
units.
I think like the only three countries in the world: North Korea, Myanmar, and the US.
Oh, yeah. Good company. Okay. So Christian asked, well, we partially covered this, but he asked, I think this is the last question we could take because we're at the end of the line here. Do you need an LLC in order to sell in Australia? How about opening a bank account?
Well, we would be able to help with opening the bank account, with the Australian dollar bank account. You don't need an LLC. You can be a sole proprietor in the US. I assume if you're setting up an LLC, you'll probably be based in the US. Um, if you're not based in the US, you can probably use your home country's, business registration. You don't need to set up an Australian business. You can sell as an international seller. Like the equivalent, say, we have a lot of Australians who are selling into the US market. They either go a proprietary limited company, or they sell as a sole trader, which is the equivalent of a sole proprietor.
Awesome. Okay, cool. We got one more that I think is actually pretty relevant, so we'll squeeze this one last one in. Kevin asked, "What is the returns slash customer service slash complaints situation like in Australia? How is it different than from the US, the EU, or DE?"
I'm lucky enough I haven't had one yet, but I
Hmm.
assume it would be the same as the US market. Because it's replicated actually off the Japanese market, the back end, the interface. Um,
What do you
but with
mean? The backend interface of Amazon? The
Yeah, so
seller
Seller
seller central?
Central.
Oh,
So it's been really weird because Seller Central in Australia, they didn't. You'd think it would be just an off-the-shelf product which they would just replicate in the next
yeah.
region, and you'd just be like, okay, well, let's just change the name at the top to Amazon
Words.
Australia.
Yeah.
But no, it's apparently
Oh.
Amazon Japan is slightly different to Amazon the US, and then they copied Amazon Japan. Um, and some of the categories are different to Amazon the US.
Weird.
But they haven't released everything, so there isn't any pay per click. There isn't any enhanced marketing. They only turned on FBA about a month ago. So,
But I'm
yeah,
sure with FBA that it would be the same as FBA other places where they
yeah,
handle returns, right?
yeah, it's exactly the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
FBA
Okay. Okay.
does everything exactly the same all around the world.
Yeah. That's what I
iSellers,
figured.
I don't sell on FBA.
Mhm.
But if someone did complain to me, it would just come through Seller Central as a complaint or a review, um, and I would just send them out another free product. I wouldn't bother. Yeah, yeah. Obviously those 5-star reviews are worth more than a $20 product.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's definitely my take always is to just send it out. It would be interesting to see kind of, and another thing I'd be interested to follow up with you on, because I have seen a major difference in countries with return rates. Like
Oh
Germany, for
yes,
instance, is fucking out of control. Like I don't know what's the deal with these Germans, but like they will just buy a bunch of stuff and return all but one. It seems like because the return rate, at least for me, has been really high. I mean, I've heard this from many other sellers as
yeah,
well,
I've heard the
and
same.
sellers that we have launched with Judo, that there's just such a super high return rate in Germany versus anywhere else. So I don't know, yeah, what that
Um,
situation will be like in Australia.
so Australia's got really tight consumer guarantee laws. So like it's pretty much the return. Like if something breaks, usually like the consumer would expect to get a full refund if they provide back the original product. So pretty much like Amazon FBA.
Yeah,
Um, but obviously in any country, some people can be a bit a bit more willing to do this than others. I think there's a lot of I to be completely honest myself, I can't be bothered to go through the effort for $20.
same.
Unless it was a product that was over the price of say $150. I don't think
Yeah,
I'll go through the effort of returning.
you just give it to your neighbor,
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
I'll just
that's how
try
I
and fix it. I'll just
I
deal with
never
the issue.
return stuff. I can't like, yeah, boxes and like I don't even writing things on labels. I can't do that stuff. I
Yeah,
way too
but
digital.
the Australian market has probably got one of the lowest fraud cases. So, like when you're
Cool.
looking at credit card fraud and when you're purchasing and buying online as a website, Australian market has got a really low default rate or like credit card bounce and fraud rate, whereas in the US it's extreme. Um, I think they've got the highest in the world. So a lot of people in the US try to take advantage of like loopholes and stuff like that. Whereas in the Australian market, I think everyone's a bit too lazy. They can't be bothered.
Yeah.
Not saying anything
Okay.
bad about Australia, but we've
That's
got better
good.
things to do. We can go to the
Yeah.
beach and
Got to surf. Got some
yeah,
surfing to do. Yeah. Cool. All right, man. Well, we're already 5 minutes over. So just to be respectful of everybody's time, and I know it's like the middle of the night for you. I thought it was the middle of the night for me until I realized what time it was for you, man.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, dude, thank you. This has been a great chat. It's always fun chatting with you. I know we've talked about doing content stuff together for a really long time, and I'm glad we finally did something. So this has been fun. And to everybody who's viewing right now, we'll have the replay available that'll be sent to you along with a white paper that outlines the main points that we went over during this conversation. So you could just, go through the things that you missed or wanted to go back to. So yeah, and if you want to save on Amazon's crazy conversion fees when you're selling in international markets, OFX can do that. OFX is the way to go. These guys can hook you up with a local bank account in any of these markets and drastically cut down your conversion fees. And of course, if you're looking to launch in any markets, Judolaunch is your answer. We will launch you in the US, the UK, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, or Japan. So come to us anytime you need to launch new products. And
Australia coming soon.
Australia coming soon. Exactly. Yep. All right, man. Well,
All
it's
right,
been awesome.
always a pleasure, Chris. Never a chiller. I'll talk soon.
All right, dude. Talk soon.
Cheers.
All right.